This is the weekly Roundup on EAC News Channel. You look back in the past week in the Kingdom of Wonder. A very good evening, I'm Anthony Ellis. Early forecasts show that the Cambodian People's Party will likely hold control of the majority of commune seats with more than 9,000 seats, followed by the Candlelight Party with more than 2,000 seats. This is according to reports and observation of the vote count, which has begun on the afternoon of Sunday the 5th of June. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has more.
Out of the 17 parties competing for seats in the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council election, only 9 parties won council seats, as stated in the unofficial results. From the total number of seats available, the CPP is reported to have won the majority, with 9,339 seats. This is followed by the Candlelight Party, with 2,192 seats, Funsinpec with 19 seats, Khmer United National Party with 13 seats, Grassroots Democratic Party with 6 seats, Cambodian National Love Party with 5 seats, Cambodian Youth Party with 3 seats, and the Kampuchea Neum Party and Beehive Social Democratic Party with 1 seat each. The 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council election 2022 was held on Sunday 5th June, with 17 political parties participating in total. These parties competed to hold 11,622 commune council seats from 1,652 communes and districts nationwide. More than 7.1 million people went to vote out of the 9.2 million registered voters. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
This morning at the Hyatt Hotel in Phnom Penh, the international observers gave a press conference to give their conclusion on the observation of the Commune Sangkat election held on Sunday the 5th of May. The international observers gave their conclusion on the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat election in the press conference held at the Hyatt Hotel this morning. Each organisations, AIPA, IPTP, ICAPP, independent observers, think tank, CAPDI and CDA had a representative gave a 20-minute speech giving their findings during the observation of the Commune Sangkat elections. On the 3rd and 4th of June, the observers had a meeting with the Prime Minister, Hun Sen, NSC, representatives of key political parties, local and international observers and key speakers. They were briefed on a range of issues concerning election process as well as the general situation and the democratic development of the country. On election day, all observers travelled to different polling booths throughout Cambodia to observe and report back their findings. In a conference today, all organisations and observers had the same conclusion. There was no irregularities, forced voting, enticing on voting, bribery or rigging present. They checked the ballot box, checked the ballot paper and spoke to voters. The observers also mentioned they were very impressed on how organised elections were, how smoothly things went. What impressed them the mostly was when the voter came up to vote, they had to show their personal identification to prove they were the person on their ID, and the voters were so happy to provide their ID. They noticed that the voters were happy, willing to and enthusiastic to vote. They showed no resistance. The voters wore masks to help to combat COVID-19. One observer made it clear he had come to make sure it was all above board and that he will be very rude, tough and very straightforward. He went to the polling booth stations where he wanted to go. The observers were also impressed on the turnout of voters and everything ran so smoothly. A few observers stated that these elections are up to international standards. The observer had to travel in other countries to observe elections and Cambodia was definitely up to their standards. The observers were also impressed that over 7 million people come to vote. That equals to nearly 78%. And the elections went as well as they did. All the international observers agreed and voiced their own opinions that everything had been done right and above board. They are all happy with the way the elections were held. The US Embassy of Cambodia has noted that Cambodia conducted commune elections on the 5th of June. Chad Rodomir, a US Embassy spokesman in Phnom Penh, told EAC News that the embassy joins many Cambodians in calling for accountability, inclusivity and transparency in the electoral process and denies participation in political rights in so many stakeholders. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has more details.
The U.S. Embassy spokesperson said that the embassy urges authorities to strengthen multi-party democracy in Cambodia by tolerating opposing political views, fostering competition through inclusive elections, promoting the free exchange of ideas, and allowing civil society and the media to operate freely. In an interview with EAC News on Sunday, Lai Sam-ol, an 80-year-old resident of Kandal province, said she had participated in both the 1993 national elections and the Commune Council elections of 2002, as well as every election that came after. She said she was happy to go to the polls because it was the people's right to choose their favorite party to serve the public.
She's very happy to be vote, and especially she vote for her favorite one country every mandate.
Another resident of Kandal province in her 30s also told EAC News that she was happy to take part in the Commune Council elections and said she found the voting arrangement was done correctly and easily for the people to own their vote.
I feel so happy. I have complete. I am a citizen in Cambodia. I have the right to choose the people that I like.
On the morning of Monday, 6 June, international observers held a press conference announcing that the 5th June election was calm, transparent, free, and in accordance with international law. Observers also said they were very interested in how the election process went smoothly and that the voters were happy and willing to vote. The observers also noted that more than 7 million people, nearly 78% of the population, went to the polls and that the election ran like others in different countries. The representative of the international observers, Hubert Moise Hal Haddad, said that he has been involved in many election observation missions, and he found the Cambodian election to be of an equal standard to the French elections he has participated in before. A total of more than 7.1 million people nationwide, equivalent to the updated number of 80.19% of the 9.2 million registered voters, went to the polls for the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council elections on Sunday, 5th June. There were 17 parties in total competing for 11,622 Commune Council seats nationwide out of 1,652 communes. All political parties held campaigns for 14 days before the election day. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The leaders of Cambodia and India have exchanged congratulatory messages to the occasion of the 7th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Kingdom of Cambodia and the Republic of India. EAC News reporter Darshana Gochan has more.
Prime Minister Hun Sen sent a letter addressed to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, extending his heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to the Indian Prime Minister, the government, and the people of India for the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. In the letter dated 27 May 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen wrote, "It is indeed heartwarming to note that since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1952, our two countries have nurtured a strong and mutually beneficial partnership at all levels, be they at the bilateral, regional, and multilateral level." While reflecting on the bilateral achievements made between Cambodia and India over the past 70 years, he said he is confident that many more cooperation opportunities could be undertaken for the mutual benefit of both countries. The Prime Minister wrote, "As the chair of ASEAN this year, Cambodia is also ready to work with our ASEAN member states and India to reinforce our ASEAN-India strategic partnership." He further added that he looks forward to welcoming the Indian Prime Minister to Cambodia for the ASEAN-India Summit and other related summits in October 2022. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also sent a letter to Prime Minister Hun Sen on 27 May 2022, conveying his warm wishes on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations on behalf of the government and people of India. He wrote, "It is my firm belief that the friendship between India and Cambodia will remain strong and enduring, and we will continue to work together for an even brighter future for the mutual benefit of our people." Prime Minister Modi further affirmed that he looks forward to working with Prime Minister Hun Sen to strengthen India's cooperation within the ASEAN framework. Prime Minister Hun Sen and Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently held an online video meeting on 18 May, where both sides praised the past cooperation between Cambodia and India. During the call, Prime Minister Modi said Cambodia is an important partner in India's policy towards the East, and the minister attached to the Prime Minister, Kao Kim Hoon, confirmed after the meeting that India had stated it would provide a $1 billion loan to Cambodia for the development of a tripartite expressway for India to Myanmar and Thailand, also connecting Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. Cambodia and India first established diplomatic relations on 30 May 1956. The Cambodian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Prak Sakhon, and Indian Minister for External Affairs, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, also exchanged letters of congratulation on the occasion of this anniversary. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Secretary of State and the spokesman for the Ministry of Health, Dr. Al Van Dien, has urged people to practice consistent food safety standards in order for everyone to maintain good health and protect themselves from various diseases. She shared these remarks on the occasion of the World Food Safety Day on Tuesday, the 7th of June 2022. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has more.
In a voice message posted on social media on Monday, 6 June, Dr. Al Van Dien said that a lack of good food hygiene will affect health and social productivity. She urges people to pay more attention to food safety from the stage of planting vegetables to serving food.
សូមឲ្យលោកយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ទៅលើការបរិភោគចំណីអាហាររបស់ខ្លួនធ្វើការផ្គត់ផ្គង់នៅម្ហូបអាហារនេះជូនទៅដល់ក្រុមគ្រួសារជាពិសេសមាតាបិតានិងអាព្យាបាលការចិញ្ចឹមបីបាច់ថែរក្សាកូនចៅរបស់ខ្លួននេះក៏សូមអនុវត្តឲ្យបានល្អត្រឹមត្រូវនៅសុវត្ថិភាពអនាម័យចំណីអាហារឲ្យបានល្អជៀសវាងយើងប្រើប្រាស់ម្ហូបអាហារដែលហួសសុពលភាពឬក៏អាហារដែលមិនមានហៅថាសុវត្ថិភាពល្អហើយអាហារដែលទុកយូរដែលវាអាចធ្វើឲ្យមានការប៉ះពាល់ទៅដល់សុខភាពរបស់យើង
The spokesperson for the Ministry of Health recommends good hand hygiene and food hygiene by washing vegetables, fruits, fish, meat, plates, and knives regularly, cooking food well, separating different types of food to not be confused, and to not keep food for too long. She said if food must be stored cold, it should be kept below 5 degrees Celsius, and if it must be stored hot, it should be kept above 60 degrees Celsius. She told people to avoid eating raw meat which has not been cooked properly, as it contains various viruses that can spread. She said, in the past, there have been outbreaks of various diseases, which can be transmitted from wild animals or rodents as well as mammals. So if you eat meat, please make sure to cook it properly. All the food we eat is to be cooked properly, and vegetables should be washed properly as well. If you have any health problems, Dr. Al Van Dien urges people to consult a medical professional. She urges those with health concerns related to epidemics to call the emergency number 115 or go to the nearest hospital as soon as possible. Darshana Gauchen, EAC News.
A senior official of the Candlelight Party, Son Che, has announced that the party will accept the seat it has won on the 5th mandate Commune Sangkrat Council election, despite overall dissatisfaction with the results of the election, and the party does not believe were free and fair. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has the story.
Speaking at the party's press conference on the afternoon of Monday, 6th of June, Son Chai said that the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council election ended without freedom and justice because the party believes it was not conducted in a fair environment and that citizens were not free in their political participation and in expressing their opinions. Additionally, the Candlelight Party state that it has been under pressure from the stage of preparing candidate lists to the stage of registering observers. The senior party representative further alleges that Candlelight Party candidates faced intimidation before the election, saw troops mobilized against them, received reports of voters being intimidated on election day, and overall accused the National Election Commission of being too biased towards the ruling party. Regarding the reports of mobilization and intimidation, Son Chai could not confirm to EAC News at the time of the press conference that further evidence would be provided for these claims at a later date.
យើងប្រកាសថាជាការបោះឆ្នោតមិនសេរីមិនយុត្តិធម៌បានន័យថាយើងអត់ទទួលស្គាល់ទេបាទបើយើងអត់ទទួលស្គាល់ទេតែយើងចង់ឲ្យកែលម្អឲ្យថ្ងៃក្រោយវាមានយុត្តិធម៌ត្រឹមត្រូវឡើងលទ្ធផលនឹងវាមិនឆ្លុះបញ្ចាំងពីឆន្ទៈរដ្ឋទេហើយសួរថាយកឬអត់សួរច្បាស់ទៅបាទយើងយកអ្វីដែលជារបស់យើងយក
The senior party official announced the party's acceptance of the seats it has won from the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council election without any protest. Following the conclusion of the Commune Council election day on Sunday, 5th of June, some parties issued statements assessing the election situation in Cambodia, stating that they saw Sunday's nationwide election as fair, just, and non-threatening. The Cambodian Youth Party and Khmer United Party issued statements on Monday morning saying that the Commune Sangkat Council election process in Cambodia was conducted smoothly, with good security, good order, and a free and fair environment with no threat posed to justice, especially for the voters who came out in large numbers. The president of the Cambodian Youth Party, Pixra, told EAC News that the party released this statement to show their participation in revealing the truth about the election process in Cambodia, which he said was more democratic and more mature.
យើងចូលរួមការបោះឆ្នោតមិនមែនត្រឹមតែចង់ឲ្យប្រជាពលរដ្ឋមកគាំទ្រទេយើងចង់ដឹងពីបរិយាកាស នៃការរៀបចំការបោះឆ្នោតនៅកម្ពុជាផងដែរដើម្បីយើងតាមដានអំពីលទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យនៅកម្ពុជាចំពោះទៅរកការអភិវឌ្ឍនៅថ្ងៃខាងមុខទៀតអញ្ចឹងគណៈបកយុទ្ធជាបានសង្កេតឃើញតាំងពីដំណាក់កាលនៃការចុះឈ្មោះបេក្ខជនគណៈបកនយោបាយដំណាក់កាលការឃោសនារហូតដល់ដំណាក់កាលចុងក្រោយគឺប្រជាពលរដ្ឋទៅបោះឆ្នោតនៅថ្ងៃទី5កន្លងទៅនឹងតែម្ដងអញ្ចឹង3ដំណាក់កាលហ្នឹងឯងដែលយើងមើលឃើញថាការប្រព្រឹត្តទៅនៃការបោះឆ្នោតនៅកម្ពុជាមានភាពល្អប្រសើរហើយទាំងអ្នកនយោបាយទាំងប្រជាពលរដ្ឋមានភាពចាស់ទុំជាងមុនហើយលទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យកំពុងតែរីកលូតលាស់ល្អក្នុងការអនុវត្តនៅកម្ពុជាយើងបាទ
The fifth mandate Commune Sangkat Council election 2022 was held on Sunday, 5th of June, with 17 political parties participating in total. These parties competed to hold 11,622 commune council seats from 1,652 communes and districts nationwide. The number of people who went to vote was close to 7.3 million people, which is about 80% of the 9.2 million registered voters. On the morning of Monday, 6th of June, international observers also held a press conference announcing that the 5th of June election was calm, transparent, free, and in accordance with international law. A representative of the international observers, Hubert Moa Haddad, said that he has been involved in many election observation missions, and he found the Cambodian election to be of an equal standard to the French elections he has participated in before. Dekanin, EAC News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin paid tribute on Thursday to the Tsar Peter the Great on the 350th anniversary of his birth, drawing a parallel between what portrayed as the twin historic quest to win back Russian lands.
Peter the Great waged the Great Northern War for 21 years. It would seem that he was at war with Sweden. He took something from them. He did not take anything from them. He returned what was Russia's, said Putin after visiting an exhibition dedicated to the Tsar. In televised comments on day 106 of his war in Ukraine, he compared Peter's campaign with the task facing Russia today. Peter the Great, an autocratic modernizer admired by liberal and conservative Russians alike, gave his name to a new capital, St. Petersburg, Putin's hometown, that he ordered built on land he conquered from Sweden. Prior to Putin's visit to the exhibition, state television aired a documentary praising Peter the Great as a tough military leader, greatly expanding territory at the expense of Sweden and the Ottoman Empire. Putin also mentioned while being televised at a meeting with young entrepreneurs that no iron curtain would fall over the Russian economy, despite the sanctions imposed by the West, because Moscow would not close itself off from the world like the Soviet Union did. Asked about the possible deals with partners such as China and India amid the closure of Russia's economy, Putin, speaking ahead of next week's St. Petersburg Economic Forum, said Russia's economy would remain open. "We will not have a closed economy. We have not had one and we will not have one," Putin told young entrepreneurs in a televised meeting. "We did not have a closed economy, or rather we did in the Soviet times, when we cut ourselves off." He further added, "We did not have a closed economy, or rather we did in the Soviet times when we cut ourselves off, created the so-called Iron Curtain. We created it with our own hands. We will not make the same mistake again. Our economy will be open." President Putin also mentioned Russian companies will not block off their oil wells despite the West's efforts to lessen its dependence on energy supplies from Moscow. The United States introduced its embargo on Russian imports in March, just days after Moscow sent its troops into Ukraine, while the European Union agreed last month in principle to gradually cut 90% of its oil imports from Russia by the end of this year. Putin said the West will not be able to completely stop using Russian energy resources over the next few years. He said, "As far as refusal from our energy resources is concerned, this is unlikely for the next few years, while it's not clear what will happen during those few years. That's why no one will pour cement into the wells."
Our South Korean defense minister official has reported that South Korea and the United States fired 8 surface-to-surface missiles early on Monday the 6th of June off South Korea's east coast, and North Korea launched a barrage of short-range ballistic missiles the day before.
South Korea's Yonhap news agency has cited the South Korean military as saying that this action is a demonstration of the capability of readiness to carry out precision strike against the source of North Korea's missile launches or the command and support centers. Yonhap also reported that the militaries of South Korea and the United States fired 8 surface-to-surface missiles for over about 10 minutes starting at 4:45 a.m. on Monday in response to the 8 short-range ballistic missiles fired by the North on Sunday, probably its largest single test yet. Additionally, an official from South Korea's defense ministry confirmed that 8 Army tactical missile systems had been fired. While delivering a speech at the Memorial Day event on Monday, 6th of June, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said that North Korea's missile and nuclear weapons programs have reached a level where they pose a threat to regional and world peace. North Korea has conducted a flurry of missile launches this year, from hypersonic weapons to tests of its largest intercontinental ballistic missiles for the first time in nearly 5 years. Washington and Seoul officials also recently warned that North Korea appeared ready to assume nuclear weapon tests for the first time since 2017.
Kazakhstan voted on constitution reform on Sunday the 5th of June, which was promoted by its president and had stepped forward to liberalising the Central Asian Republic, although it still leave the key powers in its hands. More than 68% of voters cast their ballots by 10 p.m. local time, the Central Election Commission said. Well above the required 50% threshold, the results are expected on Monday. The reform is likely to give the 69-year-old president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, the political capital he needs to run for a second term in oil-rich Kazakhstan, this time without the backing of his former patron and predecessor, Nursultan Nazarbayev. In power since 2019, following the Nazarbayev abrupt resignation after 3 decades in charge, Tokayev has only fully emerged as an independent figure this year after putting down the attempt coup in January and removing Nazarbayev and relatives from the key positions at the government. Aside from moves to decentralise decision-making and allowing greater representation of various groups in parliament, the reform will also strip Nazarbayev his natural leader status, from which granted him a lifetime privileges. The president, however, would retain powers to appoint judges and regional governors and dissolve parliament. Tokayev has described the proposal changes as a move from the sub-presidential system to a presidential republic with a strong parliament. Although critics say that the reform is cosmetic, it does not signal a reversal from decades-long trend towards strengthening presidential powers. He voiced confidence on Sunday that his intensives would be passing, saying, "There is a lot of work ahead. We will need to implement a constitutional provisions for which we are voting." Some, however, complained that the proposal changes to more than 30 articles of the Constitution were too complicated. Analysts said that the referendum was in part a response of January's unrest, which started as a protest against the fuel price hike and evolved into a broad display of public discontent with a system of concentrates power, wealth in the hands of a few. Tokayev have also called for higher taxes in lucrative executive industries and high-income individuals, saying social justice would become cornerstone of a new social contract. Addressing domestic policy concerns would free up career of diplomats' hands and deal with unexpected external turbulence. Caught between major economic and security partner Russia and the West, which has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in the giant oil fields and mines, Kazakhstan has tried to navigate a way through the Ukraine crisis without engaging in either side. Russia attacked on Ukraine's capital Kyiv with missiles on Sunday, 5th of June, for the first time in more than a month, while Ukraine's officials said that their counterattack on the main battlefield in the east have retaken half of the city of Severodonetsk.
Dark smoke could be seen from many miles away after the attack on 2 outlying districts of Kyiv. Ukraine said the strike hit a railcar repair works. Moscow said it had destroyed tanks sent by Eastern European countries to Ukraine. At least 1 person was hospitalized, though there was no immediate reports of deaths. The strike was a sudden reminder of war in a capital where normal life has largely returned since Russian forces were driven from its outskirts in March. Ukraine said Russia had carried out the strike using long-range air-launched missiles fired from heavy bombers as far away as as the Caspian Sea, a weapon far more valuable than the tanks Russia claimed to have hit. Ukraine's nuclear power operator said a Russian cruise missile had flown critically low over the country's second-largest nuclear power plant. Sunday's attack was the first big strike on Kiev since late April, when a missile killed a journalist. Recent weeks have seen Russia focus its destructive might mainly on front lines in the east and south, although Moscow occasionally strikes elsewhere in what it calls a campaign to degrade Ukraine's military infrastructure and block Western arms shipments.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson survived a confidence vote on Monday, but a large rebellion of his Conservative Party over the so-called Partygate scandal dealt a blow to his authority and leaves him struggle with a win-back support.
Johnson, who scored a sweeping election victory in 2019, has been under increasing pressure after he and staff held alcohol-fueled parties in his Downing Street office and residence when Britain was under lockdowns to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. The vote was a blow to Johnson, with 41% of his lawmakers casting ballots against his leadership after months of scandals and gaffes that has raised questions over his authority to govern Britain and knocked his standing among the public. But Johnson, a master of political comebacks, instead described the vote as a decisive result, meaning that as a government, we can move on and focus on the stuff that I think really matters to people. We can focus on what we're doing to help people with the cost of living, what we're doing to clear the COVID-19 backlogs, what we're doing to make streets and communities safer by putting more police out, said Johnson, who for weeks had tried to move the national conversation away from Partygate. It is a change of fortune for Johnson and underlines the death anger against him. He was met with a chorus of cheers and boos and some muted cheers at events to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth in recent days. Several lawmakers said the vote, which saw 211 lawmakers cast ballots in favor of Johnson against 148, was worse than expected for a prime minister, once seemingly unassailable after winning the Conservatives' largest majority in more than 3 decades. Boris Johnson will be relieved at this vote, but he will also understand that the next priority is to rebuild the cohesion of the party. David Jones, a former minister, told Reuters, "I am sure he will be equal to the challenge." Others were less optimistic, with one Conservative lawmaker saying on condition of anonymity, "It is clearly much worse than most people were expecting, but it's too early to say what will happen now." Roger Gale, a longtime critic of Johnson, urged the Prime Minister to go back to Downing Street tonight and consider very carefully where he goes from here. By winning the confidence vote, Johnson has secured a reprieve for 12 months when lawmakers cannot bring another challenge. But his predecessor, Theresa May, scored better in her 2018 confidence vote, only to resign 6 months later. Dozens of Conservative lawmakers have voiced concerns over whether Johnson 57 has lost his authority to govern Britain, which is facing the risk of recession, rising fuel and food prices, and strike-inflicted travel chaos in the capital, London. But his cabinet rallied around him and highlighted what they said were the successes of the government.
A sort of audience that's largely made up of people who's, monarchists and presumably reasonably traditional people who you would think would be his sort of core supporters. I thought that was so telling, actually, that he got booed. I think that was almost like, that felt like a turning point to me, actually.
A quick rollout of COVID-19 vaccinations and Britain's response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A majority of the Conservative lawmakers, at least 180, would have had to vote against Johnson for him to be removed. Earlier, a spokesperson for Johnson's Downing Street office said the vote would allow the government to draw a line and move on, and that the Prime Minister welcomed the opportunity to make his case to lawmakers. Johnson, a former London mayor, rose to power at Westminster as the face of the Brexit campaign in a 2016 referendum and won the 2019 election with the slogan "To get Brexit done." Jacob Rees-Mogg, Brexit Opportunities Minister, told Sky News that completing Britain's departure from the European Union would be significantly at risk without his drive and energy. Johnson has locked horns with Brussels over Northern Ireland, raising the prospect of more barriers for British trade and alarming leaders in Ireland, Europe, and the United States about risks to the province's 1998 peace deal. But it was the months of stories of what went on in Downing Street, including fights and alcohol-induced vomiting, when many people were prevented from saying goodbye to loved ones at funerals, that did the real damage. The move led to lawmakers from different wings of the party revealing that they had turned against their leader. One former ally accused the Prime Minister of insulting both the electorate and the party by staying in power. "You have presided over a culture of casual law-breaking at 10 Downing Street in relation to COVID," Jesse Norman, a former junior minister, said before the vote. Johnson's anti-corruption chief John Penrose also quit.
A wildfire engulfed a Spanish mountainside on Wednesday, the 8th of June, forcing evacuation of dozens of residents in the town of Balaverdes near Mangala. The fire, which started in Panjada Mountain, caused a huge cloud of smoke that could be seen from kilometres away. Police officers assisted evacuation residents in the southern Spanish town, while restaurant workers carried out outdoor tables and chairs inside. Donald and Gillian McMichael, British citizens now residing in Balaverdes, said they have been instructed to evacuate but unclear how long they would need to be away from their home.
Well, we've been told we need to evacuate, and that's obviously important. So we're going back to our apartment now to collect a few bits and pieces, and we will be leaving the village. Whether they'll be able to get in touch with us or anybody else during the night, whether we're expected to come back, we just wait and see. We were here and that was okay. We didn't need to evacuate last year, so this is obviously a more serious fire.
Andalusia's regional forest fire agency said 140 firefighters were tracking the blaze, supported by 15 aircraft, and the Spanish military unit was also being deployed on Wednesday night to assist with the efforts. Wind gusts of 40 kilometres per hour are making the fire to advance 30 metres per minute, in Foxchus added.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favourite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
The King of Cambodia, His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni, has sent a letter to the Queen of England, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, extending wishes of occasion of her Platinum Jubilee. In a royal message dated the 2nd of June of 2022, His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni wrote, "As Your Majesty is celebrating your Platinum Jubilee combined with Your Majesty's birthday, I have much pleasure in extending my warmest greetings and congratulations to Your Majesty, together with my best wishes for continued success and longevity." The Queen of England's Platinum Jubilee commemorates her 70th years in the service. Queen Elizabeth II is the first British monarch in history to meet this milestone. The chairman of the Permanent Security Command for the election, Deputy Prime Minister Saw Keng, has stated the high appreciation for the armed forces and relevant authorities at all levels who have worked hard to maintain security, public order and social security, facilitating the smooth conduct of all the stages of the 5th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council elections in 2022. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
On Monday, 6th of June, the Minister of Interior and the President of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, Deputy Prime Minister Saw Keng, thanked all the authorities and the armed forces for their participation in the prevention and resolution of inactivity in line with the principles of professionalism and neutrality, in order to create more favorable conditions and a secure environment for citizens and political parties to compete in the election and be able to exercise their rights and freedoms according to their will. The Deputy Prime Minister said the process was successful and under a calm, peaceful and non-violent environment. The 5th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council election has shown to the national and international communities a level of maturity and autonomy, reflecting Cambodia's commitment to implementing the principles of multi-party liberal democracy as enshrined in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Cambodia. Deputy Prime Minister Saw Keng also took the opportunity to thank members of the public throughout the kingdom for participating in the maintenance of security, public order, as well as obeying the rules and procedures which contributed to the smooth, free, correct and fair conduct of this important national event. Speaking at a meeting with stakeholders to summarize the general events of the 5th Commune Sangkat Council election 2022 on Sunday evening, National Election Committee Chairman Bright Jan said that despite some issues such as bad weather, the election went ahead as planned. He revealed that in the run-up to the election, there had been a breach of the election aggression plan in which the Permanent Security Command of the election and the National Election Committee had issued guidelines on strengthening security for election events to control the situation and to ensure the election ran smoothly and safely. He added, at the same time, due to the good cooperation between the mechanism and the election security at all levels, with the National Election Committee and election committees at all levels, our election process was successful and held in a calm, secure and safe environment with social order, no violence and no threats present. Dekanin, EAC News.
The Minister of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, Vong Sut, thanked the Cambodian People's Party working group in 8 communities in Pon Krek district for working tirelessly with the local people to gain the support of the public and to win 19 seats during the 5th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council elections. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchen has more.
The Minister of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, Vong Sut, and Sak Leng, the chairman of Tabong Khmom Provincial Party Committee, held a meeting to review the results of the 5th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council election 2022 in Pon Krek District, Tabong Khmom Province on Tuesday, 7th June 2022. The minister said he highly appreciated the achievements of the past work, showing the joint efforts of the CPP at all levels in Pon Krek District, especially the active cooperation of the working group of the CPP in helping to develop each commune to grow in all areas, while maintaining security, order, and safety, improving public services to the people, and responding in a timely and effective manner to the needs of the people. At the same time, the minister advised CPP members at all levels in Pon Krek District to pay attention to the requests from the local people in each commune to continue seeking popularity for their work activities to invite warmth, trust, love, support, and hearts of the people to the party to vote for the CPP to win in the upcoming 2023 general election. According to the chairman of the party committee of Pon Krek District, Lee Sopielin, there were 71,004 people in this district who came to vote, equal to 84.01% of registered voters and 87.74% of the total number of party members. As a result, the CPP won 71 out of 80 seats in the district and held the position of commune chief and first deputy in all 8 communes. The Candlelight Party, on the other hand, won 9 out of 80 seats. He added, comparing these results to the 4th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council election of 2017, there was an increase of 17,685 votes and an increase of 19 seats. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The chairman of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, Kiao Rami, said of the 5th Mandate Commune Sangkat Council elections results reflect the logistic basics of all parties. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchen has the story.
Speaking after a meeting with the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in Cambodia, the chairman of the CHRC, Cao Remy, said that the results of the fifth mandate Commune Sangkat Council election were logical, based on the distribution of support between the Cambodian People's Party with more than 5 million votes and the Candlelight Party with 1.6 million votes.
យើងប្រៀបធៀបនៅលទ្ធផលសម្លេងឆ្នោតគាំទ្រ 2017 កន្លងមកគឺគណៈបកប្រជាជនកម្ពុជាទទួលបានសម្លេង 3 លានកន្លះគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិដែលមានគណៈបកភ្លើងទៀននិងគណៈបកសិទ្ធិមនុស្សរួមចូលគ្នាបាន 3 លានអញ្ចឹងនៅពេលដែលគាត់បាត់ដៃគូគាត់មួយអត់មានគណៈបកសិទ្ធិមនុស្សចូលរួមព្រោះខាងលោកកឹមសុខាគាត់អត់ចូលរួមបោះឆ្នោតទេបាទអញ្ចឹងវាបាត់ពាក់កណ្ដាលមែនវា logic ណាបាទអញ្ចឹងសម្លេងដែលគណៈបកភ្លើងទៀនទទួលបាន 1 លាន 6 សែនវាពាក់កណ្ដាលវាឆ្លើយតបអាហ្នឹងវា logic មែនតើសម្លេងឆ្នោតហើយកំណើនប្រជាពលរដ្ឋធម្មតាក្នុងមួយឆ្នាំកើន 5 ឆ្នាំកើនប្រមាណអញ្ចឹងប្រជាពលរដ្ឋបានគាំទ្រថែមមកបោះឆ្នោតជូនគណៈបកប្រជាជននិងគណៈបកនានាសមាជិកគណៈបកផ្សេងទៀត swing vote ហ្នឹងមកគាំទ្រគណៈបកប្រជាជនឡើងរហូតដល់ 5 លានជាង
He also stated that the Commune Sangkat Council election of the fifth mandate is a multi-party election, which gives the people the right to choose their preferred local leader to serve the interests of the public. He further extended his congratulations to the Candlelight Party for winning more than 2,000 seats. The fifth Commune Sangkat Council election was held on 5th June to elect 11,622 Commune Sangkat seats nationwide out of 1,652 communes. Nearly 7.3 million people went to vote for the election, equivalent to more than 80% of the 9.2 million registered voters. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Russian UN Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia stormed out of the UN Secretary Council meeting on Monday the 6th of June as the European Council President Charles Michel addressed the 15-member body and accused Moscow of fueling a global food crisis with its invasion of Ukraine.
Speaking directly to Nebenzia as he walked out, Michel said, "You may leave the room. Maybe it's easier not to listen to the truth." Michel had also accused Russian troops of war crimes and crimes against humanity, specifically citing reports of sexual violence, the focus of the Security Council meeting, and describing it as a tactic of torture, terror, and repression. During his own statement earlier in the meeting, Nebenzia had categorically refuted any accusations of sexual violence by Russian soldiers, condemning what he said was a lie.
Mr. Ambassador of the Russian Federation, let's be honest. The Kremlin is using food supplies as a stealth missile against developing countries. The dramatic consequences of Russia's war are spilling over across the globe, and this is driving up food prices, pushing people into poverty and destabilizing entire regions. And Russia is solely responsible for this food crisis, Russia alone, despite the Kremlin's campaign of lies and disinformation. I've seen it with my own eyes a few weeks ago in Odessa. Millions of tons of grain and wheat stuck in containers and ships because of Russian warships in the Black Sea and because of Russia's attack on transport infrastructure. And it is Russian tanks, Russian bombs and mines that are preventing Ukraine from planting and harvesting. The Kremlin is also targeting grain storages and stealing grain in Ukraine while shifting the blame on others. This is cowardly, this is propaganda, pure and simple propaganda. Let's get to the facts. The EU has no sanctions on the agricultural sector in Russia, 0. And even our sanctions on the Russian transport sector do not go beyond our EU borders. You may leave the room. Maybe it's easier not to listen to the truth, the ambassador.
We hear reports of Russian forces wielding sexual violence as a weapon of war. Sexual violence is a war crime, a crime against humanity, a tactic of torture, terror, and repression, shameful acts in a shameful war, and this must be exposed to the light of day and persecuted without impunity. Russia's UN ambassador Vasily Nebenzia replied, "I would once again like to categorically refute any accusations against Russian service personnel of sexual violence. We roundly condemn this lie." The Russian UN ambassador only answered the sexual statement. He did not respond to any other statements. Russia's February 24th invasion of Ukraine has fueled a global food crisis, with prices of grains, cooking oils, fuel, and fertilizer soaring. Russia and Ukraine account for nearly a third of global wheat supplies, while Russia is also a fertilizer exporter and Ukraine is an exporter of corn and sunflower oil. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is trying to broker what he calls a package deal to resume Ukrainian food exports and Russian food and fertilizer exports. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is due to visit Turkey on Wednesday to discuss unlocking grain exports from Ukraine.
The Dominican Republic's Environment Minister, Orlando George Mera, was shot dead in his office on Monday, 6th of June, authorities said.
A spokesperson for the president's office, Homero Figueroa, said in a video posted to Twitter on Monday afternoon that a suspect identified as Miguel Cruz was arrested. Figueroa said Cruz was a childhood friend of the minister, without giving a potential motive for the attack. Employees at the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources told journalists that they had heard at least 7 shots from within the building. Police units arrived on the scene shortly after. Spokesman for Dominican Republic Presidency, Homero Vega, said, "The Minister of the Environment, Orlando Jorge Mera, lost his life when he was attacked in his office with a firearm. Miguel Cruz, the person identified as the one who shot, was a friend of the deceased minister. The person responsible is under the custody of the National Police and the Public Ministry. The reasons for the fact are under investigation in a timely manner. We will continue to share more information." Mera, a 55-year-old lawyer, was the son of former President Salvador Jorge Blanco, who was in office from 2002 to 2006. He is survived by his wife, Patricia Selma Villegas, and his 2 children. His son, Orlando Jorge Villegas, is a federal legislator and member of the Modern Revolutionary Party. The president and the government have made themselves available to the minister's family, Figueroa said.
The Chinese ambassador to Cambodia, Wang Wingting, has said that China has its own traditions and culture and does not want to rule over any other country, as good leadership of its own country and the people is enough for the country's ambitions. He made this statement while speaking to reporters after attending the groundsbreaking ceremony for the ship repair workshop and restoration port of the Ream Naval Base on Wednesday morning. Ambassador Wang Wingtan said on development of the Ream Naval Base in Sihanoukville acts as a model for cooperation between Cambodia and China. With respect to Cambodian law, the People's Republic of China, and also international law. He said this project is for the benefit of 2 countries' relations and that any accusation made about China wanting to place a military base in Cambodia is foolish and wrong. He said, "Speak honestly. Which country has an army abroad? Not China. And the one who's trying to increase their influence, prestige and power is not China. So no matter how much pressure and challenges we face in the future, both countries will overcome those obstacles to protect their interests." The Chinese ambassador stated that China does not want to rule over any country and has its own traditional culture of governing its own country and its own people properly, which is enough. He added that China has the same mindset on human destiny, saying that it wants to build a happy world without war together with others. On the 6th of June 2022, the Washington Post posted an article reporting that Cambodia had signed a secret agreement with China that allowed China's military to use the Ream Naval Base. The Post reported that the United States expressed disappointment when Cambodia demolished a building at its Ream-backed military base. The Cambodian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn, dismissed these allegations as baseless on Tuesday the 7th of June and reaffirmed that Cambodia adheres to its constitution, which does not allow for any foreign military base or presence in the country. He emphasised that the upgrade of the Ream Naval Base was to strengthen the capacity of the Cambodian Navy to protect the maritime integrity and to combat maritime crime. The Cambodian People's Party has decided to postpone the party's extraordinary Central Committee meeting, which was originally scheduled for early July, to mid-July instead. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has the story.
The cabinet of the Central Committee has issued a notice to its members stating that the Standing Committee has decided to postpone the meeting of the Extraordinary Central Committee, originally scheduled for the 9th to 10th July 2022 at the CPP headquarters, to the weekend of 16th to 17th of July 2022 instead. The meeting will take place just weeks after Cambodia held its fifth mandate Commune Sangkat elections on Sunday, 5th of June. A total of 17 parties competed for 11,622 Commune Sangkat seats nationwide from 1,652 communes, and the results released by the NEC revealed that more than 7.3 million went to vote for the election, equivalent to more than 80% of the 9.2 million registered voters. Ekanin, EAC News.
The Minister of National Defence, Dear Ban, has announced his intentions to resume military exercises with the People's Republic of China on a larger scale, after they were forced to be suspended last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He made this announcement during a groundsbreaking ceremony for the construction of the ship repair workshop and restoration port in Ream Naval Base on Wednesday morning, 8th of June. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchen has more.
A joint Cambodian-Chinese military exercise called the Golden Dragon may be resumed, according to Cambodian Defense Minister Thia Ban's announcement. He said, "If it is convenient, we will reorganize the Golden Dragon exercise, which we have already completed 2, 3, or 4 times already." He further continued to say, "Maritime security has always been a constant source of frustration, and something we have conducted once before is the Great Slide involving our seas, where we conduct disaster relief exercises or drills to rescue ships in our seas. We can jointly complete this training exercise to a greater extent together. And if our Ream Naval Base is developed fast, we may also use this base to carry out important tasks, exercises, joint exercises of land, air, and navy." According to Minister Thia Ban, this Golden Dragon exercise could be more formal, and he told officials of the Ministry of National Defense to be ready to resume exercises when the opportunity is favorable in the future. Cambodia suspended its Golden Dragon exercises with China in 2021 due to the COVID-19 crisis and other natural disasters. Prior to this, Cambodia had organized joint military exercises with China since 2016. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn, has reported that the Taste of Angkor cookbook has won 2 Gourmet World Cookbook Awards in 2022. The cookbook was presented to Umea Food Symposium in Sweden on the 2nd and the 5th of June. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has further details.
The 2 awards the Taste of Angkor won were Best Asian Cuisine Book and Heads of State Food Regarding, the foreword written by Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn. The Deputy Prime Minister stated that another Cambodian cookbook titled The Culinary Art of Cambodia also won the special award of the jury at the same event. The Taste of Angkor cookbook was published by the Cambodian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation as part of its food and cultural diplomacy. The cookbook previously won the Best Asian Cookbook Award at the Gourmet World Cookbook Awards of 2021. The Minister of Foreign Affairs first unveiled the cookbook on the 18th of January 2021, containing 38 recipes of Khmer dishes and desserts with detailed and easy-to-follow instructions, including substitutions for Khmer ingredients that may be hard to source abroad. Dekanin, EEC News.
Democratic-led US House of Representatives Selected Committee will attempt to reserve Republican efforts to downplay or deny the violence of the Trump loyalists who stormed the Capitol in a failed bid to prevent Joe Biden from becoming president on January 6, 2021. With 5 months to go until November 8th midterm elections that will determine which party controls Congress for the next 2 years.
A police officer hurt by Donald Trump's supporters trying to overturn his election defeat and a filmmaker who recorded some leaders of the U.S. Capitol riot will be among the first witnesses when hearings into the assault begin on Thursday, organizers say. The panel of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans has spent much of the past year investigating the events preceding and driving the attack by thousands of Trump loyalists who stormed the building in a failed bid to prevent Congress from formally certifying his 2020 election loss to President President Joe Biden. The committee said in a statement the hearings would provide the American people a summary of its findings about the coordinated, multi-step effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and prevent the transfer of power. The committee has not yet said what witnesses it will call at its Thursday's hearing. Rosenberg said that while much of the information known about the committee's work has come from legal documents filed by the Department of Justice as it prosecutes suspects, there are still overreaching questions that remain unanswered. One of the big questions is how much of the federal government, not just the people around the president and the congressional allies, how wide was the conspiracy, and what does that mean? Right, if we had departments and agencies and people in the Defense Department and the Department of Homeland Security and other departments that were actively involved in the conspiracy, as well as dozens of members of Congress potentially. I mean, this is something that really makes this unlike Watergate in that regard, is that the conspiracy appears to be far more vast and the goal of the conspiracy far more serious and grave than what they were trying to achieve, he said. The panel and its dozens of investigators have conducted more than 1,000 depositions and interviews and collected more than 140,000 documents. 4 people died the day of the attack, 1 fatally shot by police and the others of natural causes. More than 100 police officers were injured and 1 died the next day. 4 officers later died by suicide. The Capitol sustained millions of dollars in damage. Trump, who is publicly flirting with another White House run in 2024, has denied wrongdoing and accused the committee of engaging in a political attack. He has leveled harsh criticism, particularly at Representative Liz Cheney, the panel's Republican vice chairperson, as she runs for re-election. But Rosenberg said he feels the committee has behaved appropriately. I think they're treating this in a manner where they're treating it with the appropriate level of gravity for what happened. This is an unprecedented effort to overthrow the outcome of a legitimate election in the United States that was guided by the sitting president and his allies in Congress, he said. Some Republicans condemned Trump in the first days after the attack, but since then, almost all have shifted their tone. Republican members of Congress have refused to cooperate and disputed accounts of the riot, despite thousands of photographs and videos. Thursday's hearing at 8 p.m. EST is a prime-time spot intended to capture the attention of as many Americans as possible. ABC and CBS News programming schedules show that networks plan to carry Thursday's hearing live. 5 more hearings are expected in the next 2 weeks.
You're filming? You're just to hell with this?
The Russian army said on Monday it is going to seize Severodonetsk, a city in Donetsk region, with the pressure placed on the Ukraine side, which saw the critical situation in northern Donetsk city, and Ukrainian President Zelensky says heroic defense on Donbass ongoing. Major General Igor Konashenkov, spokesman for the Russian Military of Defense, said on Monday's daily briefing that the Russian army knocked down on the military facility in Ukraine's Kharkov region that was used to repair armed vehicles. In the meantime, Russia also destroyed Ukrainian fighter jets and drones in the regions of Kharkov, Zaporizhzhia, and Donetsk, as the Russian troops are going to take full control of Sevastopol and its surrounding areas on Donetsk region. An official of the Donetsk city said that Ukrainian forces had continued their strikes on the city on Monday with a spate of missiles and rocket shells, which damaged a hospital, several buildings and infrastructure facilities in the city. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday said that Russia is planning to capture Zaporizhzhia, a major city in southern Ukraine. He also added that the situation in northern Donetsk remained critical as larger and stronger Russian troops stationed there. Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, Popasna remain the most difficult places, Zelensky said on a video statement on Tuesday evening. The situation on the front line hasn't changed much over the last 24 hours, he said, adding the Russian troops were bringing in new reinforcements towards Donbass and Kherson. The Ukrainian side said that the same day the Russian Black Sea Fleet has retreated to a place some 100 kilometers away from the Ukrainian coast, losing full control of the northern Black Sea. Ukrainian prosecutors say that they have registered more than 12,000 alleged war crimes involving more than 600 suspects since the Kremlin started the offense on February the 24th. Zelensky also claimed that more than 31,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in Ukraine since the start of the war, with Russia losing almost 300 lives every day. Reuters could not vary these figures. Since being pushed back from Kyiv and Kharkiv, Russia has focused on the Ukrainian region known as Donbass, comprised the Luhansk and Donetsk provinces and closest to the Russian border. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Monday said the West decides to provide Ukraine with long-range strike weapons, Russia will act to remove the threat. He said that Ukraine is not willing to hold talks with Russia now, and Russia, the Foreign Minister added, could fully believe that such a move by Ukraine's side is a result of the following order of the Western leaders. Also on Monday, the Russian Foreign Minister announced that additional 61 US citizens have been barred from entering Russia in response to the sanctions repeatedly imposed by the United States. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm are among those blacklisted. The new restrictions have made longer the list of Americans banned from entering Russia, on which were 963 names when the Russian Foreign Minister released it on May 21st, including US President Joe Biden. To help Ukraine with the grain shipment, the Belarusian government said on Monday that Ukraine could ship its grain via Belarus, but the Ukrainian government did not agree on such a proposal the same day, saying the anti-ship system provided by Western countries is the only secured way to unblock Ukrainian ports and export grain to other countries. Taiwan's top trade negotiator appealed to the United States on Tuesday the 7th of June not to forget the island wants a free trade deal, but understands this will not happen immediately as it is willing to make another agreements first as building blocks.
Taiwan and the United States last week announced the new U.S.-Taiwan Initiative on 21st Century Trade, which envisages new trade talks. John Deng, who goes to Washington at the end of the month for talks with senior U.S. officials, told Reuters in an interview that ultimately what they wanted was a free trade agreement, even if the U.S. government has not publicly said such a deal is on the cards. Taiwan has long campaigned for such a deal, in what would be a strong show of support for the Chinese-claimed island, in the face of unrelenting diplomatic and military pressure from Beijing, and says it is a reliable partner with shared democratic values. Taiwan also wants to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership and applied to do so in September. China has also applied and says it opposes Taiwan joining. Deng said Taiwan would have to wait for Britain's more advanced application to be approved first before member states Canada, Australia, Brunei, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam would consider Taiwan. But he said he did not think the CPTPP should have to follow the World Trade Organization model, whereby both Taiwan and China joined at the same time to avoid any potentially thorny political issues favoring either party. While Taiwan's main opposition party, the Kuomintang, says it is wrong to label Taiwan's main opposition party as being pro-China, as it has always been pro-US, and is dedicated to defending the island, though also to talking to Beijing, its chairman said in Washington. The KMT ruled China until fleeing to Taiwan in 1949 after losing a civil war to the communists. It has traditionally favored close ties with Beijing, which has increasingly set it at odds with most Taiwanese, who feel little in common with autocratic China. The KMT badly lost presidential and parliamentary elections in 2020, having failed to shake accusations from the governing Democratic Progressive Party it would sell out Taiwan to Beijing. Speaking late Monday, Taipei time, at the Brookings Institution during a visit to Washington, KMT Chairman Eric Chu decried those who called them pro-China. "We are mislabeled by some people. Some media say we are a pro-China party. It's totally wrong. We are a pro-US party forever," he said, speaking in English. Taiwan needs to have strong defenses, added Chu, who assumed his current role in September on a promise to revitalize party fortunes. "If you want peace, you have to prepare for war. Self-defense is the number one for peace and stability." He reiterated the party's support for engagement with China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory to ensure stability. Beijing has ramped up its military activities near Taiwan over the past 2 years or so and refused to speak to Tsai, who it views as a separatist. Tsai says they want talks with Beijing, but as equals, and that only Taiwan's people can decide their own future. Chu said Taiwan can help the West better understand China and be a model for its giant neighbor. Taiwan can have democracy, why not China someday? We have to wait for this to happen, but we need Taiwan as a model, he said.
The chairman of National Assembly Committee of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, Propaganda and Information, Suryata has held a briefing on the democratic process of the fifth mandate Commune Sankrat Council election with various ambassadors to the Kingdom of Cambodia at the National Assembly building on Wednesday afternoon. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has more.
According to Suyara, this election process was assessed as free, fair, and just, and also shows the maturity of political parties and voters in Cambodia. He said this election was non-threatening and non-violent, and in stark contrast to the elections held in 1993, when 440 people were killed in its surrounding violence. Since then, he said instances of violence have greatly reduced, as evidenced in the 2017 and 2018 elections, and especially during the 2022 election. For the fifth mandate Commune Sangkat Council election, Suyara said that in addition to the Cambodian People's Party, there were other parties that also won seats, including the main opposition, the Candlelight Party. According to preliminary results, the Candlelight Party received nearly 20% of votes and are the party with the second highest number of votes behind the CPP. NEC member Dum Sovanarom also said at the briefing that the election on Sunday was smooth, safe, and non-threatening, reflecting the steady progress of democracy in Cambodia. Providing an overview of the day of election voting, he said it was noteworthy that 23,602 polling stations at 1,652 communes nationwide simultaneously opened at 7 a.m. for all eligible voters to exercise their right to vote in favor of one of 17 running political parties. And according to preliminary results, at least 9 political parties were able to win seats in this Commune Sangkat Council election, reflecting the steady progress of democracy in Cambodia. He further outlined how the 2022 election was conducted in 4 stages, including digitized voter registration, party and political candidate registration, the election campaign period, and finally the vote count. He said, "The NEC has taken up 7 principles of independence, neutrality, impartiality, integrity, transparency, efficiency, professionalism, and service-mindedness." In this case, before the NEC adopted the regulations and procedures for this Commune Council 2022, the NEC asked for comments and recommendations from a total of 89 institutions, showcasing the NEC's cooperative work with all stakeholders in an objective manner. The briefing meeting was attended by members of the National Assembly, representatives and ambassadors to the Kingdom of Cambodia from 31 countries, representatives of international organizations, including the UNDP and the World Bank, as well as representatives from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Information, and the National Election Committee. The 5th Commune Sangkat Council election was held on Sunday, 5th June, with 17 parties competing for 11,622 Commune Sangkat seats nationwide from 1,652 communes. The preliminary results released by the NEC show that more than 7.3 million people went to vote for the election, equivalent to more than 80% of the 9.2 million registered voters. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Cambodian Minister of Labour, It Sam Heng, gave thanks to extended his high appreciation for the achievements made by the International Labour Organisation, which has continued to significantly contribute to the socio-economic development of Cambodia, as well as other member countries, through a launch of a program promoting social justice and decent work for workers. The Minister of Labour made this statement at the 110th session of the International Labour Conference in Switzerland on Wednesday, the 8th of June. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has the details.
Minister Ut Sam Heng stated that the ILO is an important development partner of the Cambodian government, who has, through the continued implementation of programs such as the Better Factories Cambodia project, played an important role in improving working conditions and developing the textile, garment, and footwear industry in Cambodia. In addition, Cambodia has been implementing a decent work program in 5 phases since 2005. The 5th phase, from 2019 to 2023, was organized to coincide with the 50th anniversary of Cambodia's ILO membership. The royal government of Cambodia strongly hopes that the ILO's fundamental principles, which focus on tripartite mechanisms and social dialogue, will be able to address the issues at hand and achieve the ILO mission to continue promoting decent and productive work for everyone. A series of global outbreaks of COVID-19 since 2019 have severely affected global social and economic development and caused the loss of tens of millions of lives, job insecurity, and lost income. The Labour Minister said during the international conference that the royal government of Cambodia has launched and successfully implemented a 10-round package of intervention measures focusing on 4 pillars: the fight against COVID-19, livelihood stabilization, especially for the poor and vulnerable, as well as the unemployed, keeping businesses afloat and maintaining jobs, security, public order, and social stability. He said, The government has implemented measures to address the impact on employers and workers, including allowing severely affected factories to suspend their employment contracts, receive subsidies and soft skills training, facilitating of duties and vaccinations for workers in factories and enterprises, improving working conditions and occupational safety and health, protecting the rights and freedoms of professional organizations, maintaining harmonization in industrial relations and providing social protection to workers, both domestic and Cambodian migrant workers, in accordance with the policies of the royal government, national laws and regulations in force, as well as the ILO convention that Cambodia has ratified. Minister Ut Samheng confirmed that he supported the recommendations made in the report by the ILO Director General Guy Ryder, titled The Least Developed Countries: Crisis, Structural Transformation, and the Future of Work. The content of the draft report on decent work and the social and solidarity economy, as well as the global call to action for a human-centered recovery from the COVID-19 crisis that is inclusive, sustainable, and resilient, that will contribute to achieving the common goals of the 2030 Agenda of the United Nations National Sustainable Development Strategies and the ILO historic mandate to achieve social justice and social work for all. Cambodia became a member of the ILO in 1969. Since the early 1990s, the ILO has been an active partner in Cambodia's economic, social, and democratic restoration, playing a key role in helping to restore livelihoods, create sustainable jobs, rebuild infrastructure, and strengthen democratic institutions. According to the ILO, although the poverty rate continues to decline in Cambodia, rural poverty remains high at 40%. 85% of the population work in the informal economy, mostly in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, and in small and medium enterprises. The formal sector of clothing and tourism is the main engine of growth, with garment production accounting for 80% of Cambodia's exports and employing more than 600,000 workers, mostly women. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Director General of Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority, Long Naro, said that the Water Supply Authority has requested the Japanese side to include 2 more areas in the Phnom Penh Water Master Plan, as the area is highly developed. EAC News reporter Decca Nin has more details.
Speaking at a press conference on the current water supply in Phnom Penh, Long Naro said that the water supply in Phnom Penh does not yet meet the demand. While in 2030, the average amount of water used may be increased to 1.5 million cubic meters per day. Hence, more factories must be built based on conducted studies to ensure the needed supply of 1.8 million cubic water will be met to cover the calculated water shortage. Long Naro further suggested that development partners, including Japan, should include the area of the new airport in Takmai City and the Reksat area in the master plan for water development. He said, regarding the other 2 areas, the area of the new airport in Takmai City and the Reksat area, which I think one day will become a large development area, I have asked the Japanese side to include these 2 locations in the master plan of the Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority. One area is the south of Takmai City, where the new airport will be, and the other is the area in Reksat, which is opposite of Chorchongwa. The Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority has stated that Phnom Penh currently has a water shortage problem. The water supply is currently pumped from the river to the reservoir at a rate of about 1,000 to 2,000 cubic meters per hour, equal to 24,000 to 48,000 cubic meters per day. Long Naro said meeting the needed water supply is crucial as more people continue to come live in the capital city during the dry season and the water level of the Mekong River is especially low. The Director General of the Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority has, however, claimed that by the end of 2023, all Phnom Penh residents will have enough water. And from the beginning of 2024, the Water Supply Authority also ensures that there will no longer be any problems with the water supply in the capital city. Dekanin, EAC News.
The All India Football Federation has apologised to the Football Federation of Cambodia for any inconvenience caused to the Cambodian players during their trip to India. Those issues include the lack of reception for Cambodian players and the problem that occurred while playing the Cambodian national anthem at the start of the match. EAC News reporter Darshana Gochan has the details.
In a letter sent on Wednesday, 8th June, Anil Kamat, the Assistant General Secretary of the All India Football Federation and captain of the 2023 Asian Championships, thanked the Cambodian team for its cooperation in resolving the issues surrounding their hotel arrangement in Kolkata and said he will ensure that such incidents do not occur again in the future. The match director also apologized for the issue which occurred while playing the Cambodian national anthem before the match. He said, "The issues related in playing the Cambodian national anthem were discussed with the technical team and was informed that it was due to technical fault at the screen. Our entire team will work hard to see that such incidents are not repeated during the remaining matches of the competition and at the team hotel." On Wednesday night, when Cambodia played against India in the 2023 AFC Asian Cup final qualifying round, the Cambodian national anthem did not play when it was supposed to due to technical problems which postponed the game for 7 minutes. Since this incident, Cambodian people have expressed great dissatisfaction with India's shortcomings. Hun Mani, Member of Parliament and President of the Union Youth Federations of Cambodia, called on his compatriots to be patient, wait for an explanation, and focus on supporting the Cambodian national football team in the next 2 games, following the incident with the Cambodian national anthem. According to a message posted by Hun Mani on his Facebook page on Friday morning, 9th June, when a football match is won or lost, it is part of the game, while the level of hospitality received depends on the host country or venue. He said at the very least, however, one must be very careful when it comes to playing the national anthem for the visiting country. He further wrote, "I watched closely what happened yesterday during the AFC Asian Cup when Cambodia played India and what happened during the Cambodian national anthem. Whether it was a bug or technical problem, I hope there is enough explanation for this." Hun Mani said that he supports the Football Federation of Cambodia seeking further answers and explanations from the AFC and the host country, who will be on high alert for future events to prevent such a problem from occurring again for all teams. In addition, he asked the president of the Football Federation of Cambodia, General Sao Soka, to continue taking all necessary measures to protect the Cambodian national team when they go abroad. The 18th edition of the AFC Asian Cup will take place in 2023, organized by the Asian Football Confederation. The football competition will run from 16th June to 16th July 2023. The tournament will feature 24 national teams following the expansion of the AFC Asian Cup in 2019, including the host country. Qatar is the current defending champions. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
China urged the United States and Australia to stop fabricating and spreading false information. China also told the US, Australia and the UK to come clean over the nuclear weapon material transferred involved in the UCAS.
A meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors was held in Vienna, Austria on Monday. It is the 3rd time that the IAEA board meeting has incorporated the AUKUS issue into its agenda, reflecting the serious concerns of the international community over the trilateral deal. The meeting decided by consensus to set up a formal agenda item on the transfer of nuclear materials in the context of AUKUS and its safeguard in all aspects under the NPT. At China's proposal, Wang said, who added that the nuclear weapons materials involved in trilateral nuclear submarine cooperation should not be kept outside the international non-proliferation regime. This fully reflects the concerns of the international community over the transfer of nuclear weapons materials involved in the nuclear submarine cooperation among the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. The 3 countries must face up to the concerns of the international community. The self-deceiving tricks will never work, said Wang. Wang called on the 3 countries to adopt a responsible attitude toward the international community, fulfill their legal obligations on nuclear non-proliferation, and immediately and comprehensively report to the IAEA all relevant information about the nuclear weapon material transfer under AUKUS. Wang expressed hope that the IAEA board meeting will continue to focus on the core issues of AUKUS and seek solutions to safeguard the NPT and the international non-proliferation regime. In September 2021, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia announced the establishment of AUKUS, under which the US and Britain will assist Australia in its acquisition of nuclear-powered submarines. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman on Tuesday urged Australia to stop engaging in provocations against China. Spokesman Zhao Lijian made the remarks in response to the latest statement made by Australian Department of Defense, which says an Australian war plane was intercepted by Chinese military aircraft on May 26 while conducting the reconnaissance mission in airspace over the South China Sea. On May 26, an Australian Air Force P-8 maritime surveillance aircraft entered the airspace close to China's Seychelles Island for close-in reconnaissance and continuously approached the territorial airspace of the Seychelles Islands in disregard of China's repeated warnings. The Chinese PLA Southern Theater Command organized naval and air forces to identify and verify the Australian aircraft and warned it to leave, said Zhao. The Australian side sought to confound black and white and repeatedly spread the false narrative, which is aimed at inciting antagonism and confrontation. China is firmly against this. We urge the Australian side to immediately stop such dangerous and provocative acts and seriously dissuade its air and naval forces from such acts. Otherwise, any serious consequence arising therefore shall be borne by the Australian side, Zhao continued. The spokesman also said that a sound and steady China-Australia relationship serves the fundamental interests and meet the common desire of the two peoples. China's position on its relation with Australia is consistent and clear. The Australian side needs to manage the bilateral relations in the spirit of mutual respect and mutual benefit and bring China-Australia relations back onto the right track of sound and steady progress, said Zhao. China also urged the United States to stop fabricating and spreading false information and stop being proud as an empire of lies, said Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian at a press briefing in Beijing on Wednesday. Zhao made the remarks after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has been forced to pause the work of the Disinformation Governance Board only 21 days after being established by the U.S. government amid strong questioning voices. The board head, Nina Jankovic, also resigned after the program was paused. The Disinformation Governance Board deserves to be questioned, since the U.S. government itself is the world's biggest spreaders of false information, said Zhao. The U.S. politicians can tell lies as they wish, but it's the ordinary people who fall victim to false information, even at the cost of their lives, he said, citing the civilians in Iraq and Syria, for example. Zhao pointed out that at the early stages of the COVID-19 outbreak, the U.S. government played down the severity and urgency of the novel coronavirus transmission and instead persisted in spreading false information about the source of the virus. The misinformation on the epidemic made the U.S. the country worst hit by the epidemic with the world's most cases and deaths, he said. The more lies the U.S. government tells, the more its reputation deficits will be. The U.S. should stop fabricating and spreading false information and no longer be proud as being an empire of lies, says the spokesman.
US President Joe Biden welcomed presidents from across the region in Los Angeles on Wednesday, the 8th of June, for the Summit of the Americas.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Los Angeles, California on Wednesday, 8th June, where regional leaders gathered for the 9th Summit of the Americas, whose agenda has been undermined by discord over the guest list. Seeking to counter China's growing clout, a senior administration official said President Joe Biden is offering America's neighbors to the south an alternative that calls for increased U.S. engagement, including stepped-up investment, strengthening supply lines, and building on existing trade deals. However, Biden's America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity, which still appears to be a work in progress, stops short of offering tariff relief and, according to the U.S. official, will initially focus on like-minded partners that already have U.S. trade accords. Negotiations are expected to begin in early fall, the official added. Biden was due to outline his plan in a speech later on Wednesday to formally open the summit, which was originally conceived as a platform to showcase U.S. leadership in reviving Latin American economies and tackling migratory pressures. But Biden's agenda has been marred by partial boycott by leaders upset at Washington's decision to exclude Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua from the summit. U.S. officials hope the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles and a parallel gathering of top business executives can pave the way for greater economic cooperation as regional nations grappling with higher inflation work to bring supply chains stretched by the COVID-19 pandemic closer to home. Washington, which already has a combined trade pact with Canada and Mexico, a collective one with Central America, and a series of bilateral agreements in the region, will attempt to develop new customs, digital trade, labor, environmental, and corporate accountability standards, according to the official. Before the event, the Biden administration unveiled a new proposed U.S. economic partnership with Latin America. Advancing democracy and tackling climate change are some of the goals of this year's Summit of Americas, said U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday, 8th June. Blinken and OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro kicked off a ministerial meeting during the third day of the Los Angeles Summit. This is the first time since 1994, when the gathering first took place in Miami, that the United States is hosting the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles. At the event, President Joe Biden will seek to address regional migration and economic challenges.
The Chinese ambassador to Cambodia, Wang Wingtin, and his wife paid a courtesy call to Her Majesty Queen Norodom Moningit Sihanouk on the occasion of her 86th birthday. The ambassador told the Queen that the Chinese embassy will organise a series of activities to commemorate His Majesty King Father Norodom Sihanouk's 100th birthday. The ambassador said the King's father sacrificed a great deal of energy for the development of the bilateral relations between people of Cambodia and China. The two countries will continue to deepen their friendship. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin will have more stories.
During his visit to the Queen on Thursday 9th June, Ambassador Wang Wentien wished her to continue having great wisdom, intelligence, strength, good health, and a long life. He added that this year marks the 100th birthday of His Majesty King Norodom Sihanouk, who sacrificed a great deal of energy in further developing relations between the two countries and also encouraged the people of both countries to continue exploring and actively participating in building the friendship between China and Cambodia. The Chinese embassy quoted the ambassador saying, "China and Cambodia are truly ironclad friends. Under the direct attention of the leaders of both countries, the two sides are actively promoting practical cooperation in various fields and participating in building a common destiny with strategic significance." The ambassador also once again wished Her Majesty the Queen good health to continue supporting the friendship between the two countries to last forever. Her Majesty Queen Mother thanked the Chinese leaders for their greetings and wishes and said the traditional friendship between Cambodia and China was directly established and nurtured by the King Father and the previous generations of Chinese leaders, forging this ironclad friendship. She also recalled China's involvement in aiding Cambodia since the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak. China quickly sent medical experts to Cambodia to gain control over the pandemic, along with many much-needed pandemic prevention materials and resources, which played an important role in the national fight against COVID-19. She also thanked the Chinese side for always providing valuable assistance to aid Cambodia's national development and social progress. The royal family of Cambodia will continue to play a role in the development of this friendly relationship and will continue to be a force in promoting the development of relations between the two countries. It should be noted that King Norodom Sihanouk was a strong supporter of the People's Republic of China. As head of state and government during the Sangkom Ria Niyom, or Popular Socialist Community era, King Norodom Sihanouk proclaimed independence and recognized the People's Republic of China as a country before China itself had declared as such. During the handover ceremony of the Morodok Tekcho National Stadium on 12 September 2021, Prime Minister Hun Sen stated that the fruitful relationship between Cambodia and China began with the actions of former King Norodom Sihanouk, who supported the Chinese Communist Party since the time of Mao Zedong. The People's Republic of China was formally proclaimed on 1 October 1949, when the Chinese Communist Party led by Mao Zedong defeated the army of the Republic of China led by Chiang Kai-shek. In September 2021, His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni delivered a congratulatory message to the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, on the occasion of the 72nd anniversary of the establishment of the country. He stated, "Cambodia is committed to maintaining the traditional friendship and cooperation with China and to promote the building of a Cambodian-Chinese community with a common future." Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces and the Commander of the Royal Cambodian Army, Lieutenant General Hun Manet, has stated that the private sector is a major source of investing and promoting social and economic process and innovation, as well as a sustainable and indispensable partner in promoting public health and the well-being of the people. He made this statement during the inauguration ceremony of the Ban Leng Lai Global Waste Disposal Treatment Plants in Kandal Province on Friday the 10th of June. Lieutenant General Hun Manet has said that the Royal Government of Cambodia has always considered the private sector a particular operator and of the country's development. Based on its idea, the Royal Government has always strived to increase resources and cooperation, mobilise national aid and international development partners, especially to open the participation of the private sector to promote and develop of basic health system infrastructure, human resource training, equipment medical waste management, and more, which contribute to the provision of quality health services throughout the country. He joined in congratulating Ban Leng Lai Global on conditions of the company has made a new achievements of the Royal Government, raising the quality and efficiency of medical waste management to protect the health of people, animals, and the environment in Cambodia. He said these achievements really show the important role the private sector plays in contributing to the royal government on the management of medical waste to be more efficient and effective in protecting human health, animals, plants and environment in Cambodia. Because medical waste can be seriously hazard, can lead to pollution, contamination and the spread of disease in the living environment if the management, storage and disposal of medical waste is not done in accordance to technical standards. Mon Leng Lai Global Medical Waste Treatment Plant collects, manages, treats medical waste. In the first phase of the company built, installed and opened up to 5 medical waste treatment plants in the country, in the provinces of Kandao, Kampot, Tabong Kamam, Bente Metre and Stong Trang. These 5 locations are also able to provide medical waste management services to its surrounding provinces. In the next phase, the company plans to expand its businesses by building and installing more medical waste treatment plants in the 24 provinces across Cambodia. US President Joe Biden laid out the pitch to the leaders from the Americas from the new economic partnership at the start of the regional summit on Thursday, even as he faced an open rebuke on the exclusion of Venezuela, Cuba and Nicaragua. President Joe Biden announced on Wednesday a proposed new US economic partnership with Latin America aimed to countering China's growing clout with its kicked off the regional summit, married by discord and snubs off the guest list. Hosting the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, Biden sought to assure the assembled leaders about his administration's commitment to the region despite nagging concerns that Washington at times is still trying to dictate to all poorer southern neighbours. Speaking at the opening session of the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, Biden said his administration was committed to help Latin America and its Caribbean recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, tackle irregular migration and improve living standards. But he quickly faced sharp pushback over his decision to cut out Washington's 3 main regional antagonisms, which spurred a boycott by some leaders led by the Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, dealing a blow to Biden's effort to reassert US leadership. The lineup of visiting heads of state and government in attendance was thinned down to 21 after Biden excluded Cuba, Venezuela and Nicaragua, prompting Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and several other leaders to stay away in protest. We have to invest in making sure our trade is sustainable and reasonable in creating supply chains that are more resilient, more secure and more sustainable, Biden told the gala opening ceremony. Brazil and the United States should forge closer ties after the 2 countries drifted apart in ideological reasons, Brazil's far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, said on Thursday at the first official meeting with his US counterpart, Joe Biden. The hasty arrangement met between the two came together after Biden reached out to Bolsonaro, a populist and admirer of ex-president Donald Trump, as Washington sought to shore an attendance at the summit rolled by partly boycott. Leaders attending the Summit of the Americas are poised and issued a declaration pledging measures to curb illegal migration and help countries receiving large number of migrants to cope with them, according to the draft document on Thursday. The document, which was dated both 6th and 7th of June, included commitments to work on convoying banks to review their financial instruments for migrant hosting countries, as well as improving migrants' access to public and private services. Between uncertainty and confusion, the migrant caravan paused on Thursday, 9th of June, to obtain temporary visas, allowing them to transit throughout Mexico and continue with their hopes reaching to the United States.
Several thousand migrants set off from southern Mexico early Monday, 6 June, aiming to reach the United States, timing their journey to coincide with the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles this week. Caravan organizer Luis Garcia Villagran said the group represented various nationalities of people fleeing hardship in their home countries, including many from Venezuela, Cuba, and Central American citizens. They walked for several hours in the midst of intense heat and rain. We are heading to the immigration center to ask for our document to be able to travel by bus, but they told us that it was collapsed, so we will continue on the march because we were told if we reach another town, we could have the opportunity to get the document, said Venezuelan migrant Daniela Celis. The migrants, including many children, began their trip early under rainfall and fanned out across several highway lanes, with some wearing plastic ponchos and holding umbrellas. Large caravans headed to the United States also traveled across Mexico in 2018 and 2019, mostly comprised of Central Americans, followed by smaller groups in recent years. Record numbers of migrants last year attempted to cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. Colombian migrant Robinson Reyes, 35, said he hoped the group would attract the attention of leaders at the summit. "We want a future for our children. We want to cross Mexico without any problems," he said.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Treasures. Real-life treasures have been recently discovered of Colombia, with centuries-old shipwrecks complete with gold coin treasure.
According to officials, Colombian naval officials conducting underwater monitoring of the long-sunken San Jose galleon discovered two other historical shipwrecks nearby. One is believed to be a Spanish colonial-era boat, and the other thought to be from the time of Colombia's War of Independence from Spain some 200 years ago. The San Jose galleon sunk in 1708 near Colombia's Caribbean port of Cartagena. Some historians believe its cargo of treasure could be worth billions by today. New images of the shipwreck revealed gold coins, cannons, as well as other items such as vases and crockery. Authorities are working to raise the shipwrecks and its contents from the seabed for display in museums.
Thousands of members of Thailand's LGBTQ+ community raised rainbow flags in the country's first official Pride Parade on Sunday evening, the 5th of June, to celebrate Pride Month and to support gender equality.
Waving blue, pink, and white transgender flags, marchers made their way through the main streets of Bangkok. Some chanted and called for same-sex marriages to be legalized and for sex workers' rights. Designer Sipiranath, 24, who made his costume with a long rainbow flag, said the parade had given him goosebumps. The relatively big parade was supported by the local government for the first time. Drag queen Gunpunna, 56, who was dressed in rainbow clothes from head to toe, was calling for the acceptance of sexual diversity. In Thailand, 2 bills on LGBTQ plus couples, including one on civil partnerships, are waiting to go to parliament. The civil partnership bill approved by the cabinet in 2020 will recognize same-sex unions with almost the same legal rights as married couples.
World Oceans Day on the 8th of June is an international event to raise awareness on the impact of human actions on oceans. Many countries are doing their part to help clean and restore the oceans in its former glory.
International marine conservation organizations have retrieved 23.5 tons of waste, including 25 large fish farm nets and equipment, from the depths of the sea around the Greek Ionian island of Ithaca by volunteer divers from the United Kingdom, Netherlands, Lebanon, Hungary, and Greece in the last 2 weeks. Abandoned nets or ghost nets are named as such because they appear almost invisible underwater and trap and kill marine animals every year. Divers dug out the long, heavy nets from beneath the sand on the seabed. A barge with a crane lifted the nets to the surface and placed them into containers. They will be taken for recycling by textile company Aquafil and turned into yarn used to make products such as clothing and carpets. Some 640,000 tons of fishing gear is lost or abandoned annually in seas and oceans, Healthy Seas said in a statement. That plastic waste harms sea life and leaves microplastics in the water that end up in the food chain. In Rio de Janeiro, Guanabara Bay, the lack of fish due to high levels of water pollution has driven fishermen to go from fishing to cleaning the ocean. The project involves 25 fishermen families and is promoted by Ogaia, an Italian enterprise dedicated to cleaning oceans, and the Brazilian environmental organization's BV Rio Institute. Circular economy expert at BV Rio, Pedro Mendes, told Reuters that besides having an environmental impact, the project also helps local fishermen who have seen their trade affected by the polluted waters. Through this initiative, for 2 days of work, the fishermen are paid above the minimum wage. It is expected to last 12 months, during which organizers hope 100 tons of trash will be collected. When a team of scientists listened to an audio clip recorded underwater of islands in central Indonesia recently, they heard lots of clicking sounds. It was the sound of a lively coral reef, said the lead researcher of a study that is using hundreds of such audio clips to train a computer program to track the health of a coral reef by listening to it. By analyzing audio clips recorded by underwater microphones or hydrophones placed on the reef, researchers used the so-called passive acoustic monitoring method to understand the condition of the reef. Williams and a team of scientists have trained the computer algorithm to read details that are inaudible to human ears. The artificial intelligence system parses data points like frequency and loudness of the sound from the audio clips and is able to determine with at least 92% accuracy whether the reef is healthy or degraded, according to the teen study published in Ecological Indicators journal. While coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support more than 25% of marine biodiversity, including turtles, fish, and lobsters, making them fertile ground for global fishing industries. A report released by the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network in October 2021 said 14% of the world's coral on reefs was already lost between 2009 and 2018, equal to about 11,700 square kilometers, an area 2.5 times the size of Grand Canyon National Park. The majority of the loss was caused by coral bleaching, a phenomenon that happens when corals expel the colorful algae living in their tissues under stress from warmer water. The scientists hope with this new AI system, they can help conservation groups around the world monitor reef health more efficiently. Normally, a healthy coral reef has a complex crackling campfire-like sound due to the living creatures on the reef, while a degraded reef is often more desolate, Williams said. In their next step, the researchers hope to collect recordings from the reefs in Mexico, Australia, and the Virgin Islands in a bid to help monitor the progress of local coral restoration projects.
Using sunlight, sand, and eggs among the unusual materials, Egyptian Hossam Gamal creates portraits of famous personalities in captivity ways.
The 32-year-old said that he is willing to do anything for the love of art as he stood in the sun holding a magnifying glass to burn wood in the form of an artwork depicting Marilyn Monroe. Gamal said he practices his art as a hobby. While he works for an infrastructure company, it is his unique portrait drawings that give him joy. He said that one should not let go of their hobby as it is what gives them purpose in life. Other artworks of his depicts Egyptian soccer player Mohamed Salah, which he created by throwing sand over the glue-painted portrait he first drew, or the Mona Lisa painting prepared by cooking fried eggs in its form.
And finally, the Kim San twins are world-renowned chefs and also in their own home country of Cambodia. The twins, with their assistant Shanti, travelled to Switzerland to cook for the Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen and other distinguished delegates from across the world for the gala event in Cambodia night, which was part of the World Economic Forum.
Hey,ខ្ញុំឈ្មោះសុកគឹមសានមកពីខេត្តសៀមរាបដូចគ្នាចំណែកខ្ញុំរៀននៅសាលាពតប្រូលនៅខេត្តសៀមរាបហើយនាងរៀននៅខ្ញុំរៀននៅសាលាបាយនៅសៀមរាបដូចគ្នាចាពួកយើងទាំងពីរនេះបានធ្វើដំណើរពីសៀមរាបមកភ្នំពេញដើម្បីបើកភោជនីយដ្ឋានមួយឈ្មោះថាភោជនីយដ្ឋានសម្បុកហើយភោជនីយដ្ឋានពួកយើងមានបម្រើសេវាកម្មម្ហូបអាហារមានអាហារពេលព្រឹកអាហារថ្ងៃត្រង់អាហារសម្រន់
The duo had met while working together in a hotel where their friendship flourished and made names for themselves at the Embassy restaurant in Siem Reap, the first all-female staff restaurant in Cambodia where Shanti is head chef. Sop Kim Sang went to Salabai Hotel and Restaurant School in Siem Reap, while Paul Kim Sang went to Paul de Broer School in Siem Reap, where they gained their chef training. Both girls fell in love with cooking from their mothers who were cooks in their villages. Their special talent as chefs have taken them around the world and working beside Michelin chefs. Both Sok and Paul and assistant Shanti had the privilege recently to travel to Davos, Switzerland to cook for the Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen and other distinguished delegates from across the world for the gala event Cambodia Night. EAC News was able to interview the girls at Sambok restaurant in Phnom Penh for one of the restaurants they run. How do you feel about cooking for the Cambodian Night and the Prime Minister of Cambodia?
Well, we feel exciting that we have a chance to make the food for Prime Minister Hun Sen, and the high person. Well, I mean the PM from the other country come, and we have a chance to make the food for them to try, like to show the world, to show the Khmer food to the world. We are very happy and so impressed, like
to present our Cambodian food to the world. Because in the event we have a different country to join, in Asia and in Europe, so we have chance to present our food to the tourists to taste our food. So we are so happy.
Did you have a theme for Cambodia Night?
Well, it's all we present the Cambodian food. Even some we brought the ingredient from Cambodia to the world to make our Khmer food in India, because we were thinking like India we could not find this one the same as what we have in Cambodia. So we brought some ingredient there.
Well, I mean, some ingredients especially come from Cambodia.
It's the unique one that we cannot find in Europe, so we brought it. To make our food to be the same flavor, not the same taste. That's why it's the main ingredient is very important. So we select the main ingredient to bring to the world.
Everyone calls you twins. Are you twins?
No, actually we are the twin name, the same name, but we are not related. And we just a friend, and we meet up each other in one hotel, and then we work together for now it's
nearly 20 years
together. Me, I born in Cambodia and she's born in Siem Reap. So it's different place.
Do you have a signature dish?
For us, we have for me, my signature dish, I do a green cocoa soup. It's our signature dish, and this soup is like nobody have in Asia. It's a signature dish of Cambodian. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's also like it's mixed up in the very green leaf inside in the soup.
Countryside
It's
dish. This
more
one.
countryside.
It's a
You know,
countryside
when
dish.
every time mom she make this soup, I have to pick up the vegetable around the
house.
the house,
What
the
they have.
table, and then pick it up and then have to cut lemongrass and make it like take long, but it's nice. And then need to take the skin of coconut, the coconut, cut it and make it after take the coconut cream. Oh my god, it take like half morning to prepare this one, but it's good.
What is your future dream?
For the future, we would like to have one restaurant in one country, at least for example, like the main country like France, Japan, in New York, maybe
Australia.
like Australia,
Yeah, why
for
not?
sure. And to let them know the fine dining Khmer food.
I think they already have a Cambodian. The Cambodian restaurant, the country like, but it's not really like the like Khmer traditional Asian, like they mix up with Chinese or Thailand.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Your restaurants are all female.
Yes.
a big strong yes. Female power.
Yeah,
Female power.
So the concept is like that. Like we would like to open the restaurant to present our food like a home style. So home style cooking is a woman in Cambodia who cook the food
for the
family. The women, they have small things they cook from the heart. From the heart, and the small things,
They
small
take
touch
care
up.
of
It's more fine food.
Do you hope to be Michelin chefs one day?
wish to have Michelin star in Cambodia, like if we will get. In embassy, every guest when they come to eat, they give us a star already.
Do you think in cooking, what is the most important? The ingredients, the cooking, or is it the art?
Important is the ingredient, and then is the art is after. When you have the good ingredient, you can create anything that around the product.
They say we eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouths.
True this one. If the food one dish is really, really good, but look ugly, you feel not.
You don't want to eat as well.
But if the food look nice presentation, decoration, and then you feel like, wow. After you taste, if the taste good, perfect already.
You have to go through two ways the same.
Yeah.
So.
Congratulations on your career and having a chance for cooking for the Cambodian night and the Prime Minister of Cambodia, Hun Sen. I wish you all the best in the future and the success for the embassy and Sambak restaurants.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Sokkampol Kim San, better known as the Kim Sam twins, with their assistant Chanti, got to travel to Davos, Switzerland, to be able to cook for the Cambodian night in front of the Prime Minister Hun Sen and other delegates around the world. EAC News would like to thank him very much to be able to give us a chance to interview them and wish them all the best on their real ventures. Anthony Ellis, Sambak Restaurant, Phnom Penh. Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect over the next few days. Thanks for watching the weekly Roundup here on the EAC News Channel. More from the EAC News team Daily Roundup, Monday night at 8 p.m. I'll see you then.